What if the man who acts coldest toward you is actually the one who thinks about you the most? What if his indifference isn't rejection, but the desperate attempt of someone fighting feelings so intense they terrify him? Here's the uncomfortable truth most dating advice won't tell you. When you truly become a man's weakness, he doesn't chase you harder. He pulls away. He becomes distant. He acts like you don't matter when you're the only thing that does. Today, we're exposing the 8 unmistakable signs that prove you're his weakness, even when his behavior suggests the complete opposite. These aren't the fairy tale signals everyone talks about. No, he texts you constantly nonsense. We're diving into the psychological warfare that happens when a man realizes he's vulnerable to someone, the defense mechanisms he can't control, the emotional contradictions that reveal more than any confession ever could. Because here's what nobody wants to admit: the deepest attraction often disguises itself as the most confusing behavior. The man who's genuinely affected by you will often act like the man who cares the least. It's not game playing, it's self-preservation. By the end of this video, you'll understand the hidden psychology behind male emotional defense, decode the contradictory signals that prove you matter more than he'll admit, and recognize when his distance is actually his way of protecting his heart from you. So stay with me until the end, because what you're about to learn will flip everything you thought you knew about male attraction upside down. Here's the brutal reality about men and vulnerability. When most women become interested in someone, they move closer, they engage more, they show their cards. But when a man realizes someone has the power to truly affect him, his first instinct isn't to embrace it. It's to run from it. And that running often looks like the cruelest form of rejection. Psychology calls this emotional self-preservation. Deep down, his brain is calculating risk. If I let her know how much she affects me, I give her the power to destroy me. That fear of emotional exposure triggers what researchers call approach avoidance conflict. He's drawn to you like gravity, but simultaneously pushing away to protect what feels like his emotional survival. This isn't conscious manipulation, it's instinctive protection. Men are often raised to view emotional vulnerability as weakness, to see feelings as something that compromises their strength and control. So when someone comes along who makes them feel things they can't control, the natural response isn't surrender, it's resistance. What makes this so confusing for women is that it looks exactly like disinterest. His pulling away feels like rejection when it's actually the opposite. It's his feelings being so strong that he can't handle them. His indifference is performed, not genuine. His distance is calculated, not natural. Understanding this psychology changes everything, because once you recognize that his coldest moments might actually be when he's feeling the most, you stop chasing validation and start reading the real signals. You stop interpreting his walls as rejection and start seeing them as protection. And most importantly, you stop taking his defense mechanisms personally when they're actually about his own emotional overwhelm. The first sign that you're his weakness, even when he acts like you're nothing, lies in the timing of his distance. And here's what's fascinating. It's never random. If you pay attention, you'll notice his coldness always follows moments of genuine connection, right after you shared something personal, right after he let his guard down, right after there was real intimacy between you. This isn't coincidence. It's emotional panic. When a man feels himself getting too close, too vulnerable, too invested, his instincts kick in to create space. Not because the connection wasn't real, but because it was too real. His brain interprets emotional closeness as potential danger, triggering what psychologists call intimacy sabotage. You might notice he becomes distant after a perfect date, cold after a deep conversation, unresponsive after moments where you both felt something shifting. His retreat isn't about losing interest. It's about gaining too much interest and not knowing how to handle it. Science explains this perfectly. When we experience intense emotional connection, our brains release oxytocin, the bonding hormone. But for men who associate vulnerability with loss of control, this chemical flood can trigger anxiety rather than comfort. Their nervous system interprets bonding as threat, causing them to create distance to regulate their emotional overwhelm. What makes this even more telling is the pattern. It's not random coldness. It's strategic withdrawal right when things get real. He's not rejecting the connection. He's rejecting his own vulnerability to it. And ironically, this pattern of pulling away after closeness is one of the strongest signs that you've gotten under his skin in ways he can't handle. If you've noticed him becoming unreachable right after your best moments together, don't assume it means those moments didn't matter. Assume they mattered so much that he's now in emotional damage control mode. Because when you're truly someone's weakness, they don't move toward you. They protect themselves from you. The second unmistakable sign reveals itself in how he watches you when he thinks you're not looking. When a man is fighting feelings for you, his eyes betray him every single time. It's not the obvious staring. It's something far more subtle and far more revealing. You might catch him looking at you from across a room, but the moment your eyes meet, his dart away like he's been caught doing something wrong. This isn't shyness. It's emotional surveillance. He can't stop studying you, memorizing you, trying to figure out what it is about you that's gotten so deep under his skin. His gaze is different when he thinks you're not aware. Longer, more intense, almost analytical, like he's trying to solve a puzzle. He's not just looking at you. He's trying to understand his own reaction to you, why you affect him, what makes you different, why he can't seem to get you out of his head. Neuroscience reveals that when someone captivates us emotionally, our brain's reward system becomes hyperactive around them. Dopamine floods our system, making us literally addicted to looking at them. But for men who are fighting these feelings, this biological drive creates internal conflict. They want to look, but don't want to reveal their interest. What's even more telling is how his energy changes when your attention is on someone else. His casual observing becomes focused monitoring. You might notice him tracking your interactions, noting who makes you laugh, cataloging who gets your attention. He's not just watching you anymore. He's watching your world, trying to assess his competition and his chances. This surveillance isn't creepy or controlling. It's involuntary fascination he's trying to hide. When someone becomes our weakness, we become students of their behavior, their preferences, their responses. We can't help but pay attention because they've become the most interesting person in our universe. And here's the crucial part. He only does this with you. Other women don't get this level of covert attention. Other women don't make him feel the need to study and understand and figure out. That focused, hidden observation is reserved for the person who's managed to completely capture his emotional attention, even when he's determined to fight it. The third sign appears in the way he responds to your name and your presence in conversation. When you're someone's secret weakness, they can't control their micro reactions to anything connected to you. Their body betrays their feelings before their mind can catch up. Watch what happens when someone mentions your name in his presence. If he's trying to hide his feelings, he'll either overcompensate with fake indifference or he'll have involuntary physical responses he can't control. His posture might shift slightly, his attention might sharpen, his voice might change tone when he responds. These aren't dramatic reactions. They're the tiny tells that reveal emotional investment. When someone matters to us deeply, our nervous system responds to their very existence in our environment. Heart rate changes, muscle tension shifts, breathing patterns alter. These biological responses happen whether we want them to or not. You might notice he becomes unusually quiet when you're discussed, not because he's uninterested, but because he's afraid his voice will give away too much. Or he might become overly talkative, using words to hide what his silence would reveal. Both responses indicate the same thing. You affect him more than he wants to admit. Psychology shows that when we have strong feelings we're trying to suppress, Our cognitive load increases dramatically. We have to work harder to appear normal, to control our responses, to manage our reactions. This extra mental effort often shows up as slight delays in responses, carefully measured words, or overcompensated casualness. The most revealing moments happen when your name comes up unexpectedly in group settings. His startled response, however subtle, reveals that you occupy enough mental space to create surprise when you're suddenly brought into focus. People don't startle at the mention of individuals who don't matter to them. And here's what seals it. He remembers these conversations. Later, he might reference something that was said about you, revealing that he was paying much closer attention than he pretended. When someone is your weakness, every piece of information about them becomes valuable intelligence, stored away whether you mean to or not. The fourth sign manifests in his phone and communication patterns, and it's the opposite of what most dating advice tells you to look for. When you're truly someone's weakness, he doesn't text you constantly. He crafts his messages like military strategy. Eve, RI text he sends you has been considered, reconsidered, and probably rewritten multiple times. While with other people, he fires off casual, immediate responses. With you, there's always a calculated delay. Not because you don't matter, but because you matter too much for careless communication. You might notice his messages are either very short and controlled or surprisingly long and revealing, with nothing in between. The short ones represent his attempts to maintain emotional distance. The long ones represent moments when his feelings leaked through his defenses. Both extremes indicate emotional investment he's trying to manage. What's most telling is his response time patterns. He might leave your messages on read for hours, then suddenly respond with something thoughtful and detailed. This isn't game playing, it's emotional regulation. He needs time to compose himself, to decide how much of his real feelings to reveal, to craft a response that maintains his emotional safety. Research in behavioral psychology shows that when we're emotionally invested in someone, our communication becomes more deliberate. We overthink word choices, tone, implications. What seems effortless with others becomes complex with the person who matters most. Pay attention to what happens when you don't respond immediately to his messages. If he's fighting feelings for you, your silence will trigger anxiety he tries to hide. He might double text after hours of silence, then immediately regret showing that level of investment. Or he might mirror your delay, trying to prove he doesn't care about your response timing. His phone behavior extends beyond texting too. He might avoid calling you because voice conversations feel too intimate, too revealing. Or when he does call, his voice carries a different energy than his usual tone. Phone calls require real-time emotional management, making it harder to hide authentic reactions. The ultimate tell is how he handles group chats or social media when you're present. His responses become more measured, his humor more carefully deployed. He's performing casualness for an audience of one, you. Everyone else gets his natural communication style. You get his carefully curated version designed to hide just how much you affect him. The fifth sign shows up in his behavior around your emotions, and it reveals the depth of his hidden investment in your well-being. When a man sees you as his weakness, your emotional state becomes something he monitors and responds to, even when he's pretending not to care. You might notice he has an uncanny ability to sense when something's wrong with you, even from across a room. His radar for your emotional shifts is hypersensitive because you matter to him in ways he won't admit. While he might appear disinterested in conversation, his peripheral awareness of your energy never shuts off. When you're upset, sad, or frustrated, his behavior changes subtly but significantly. He might not offer direct comfort, but he'll find indirect ways to check on you, asking mutual friends about you, creating opportunities to observe you without making it obvious, positioning himself where he can monitor your recovery. This protective instinct operates below conscious awareness. His brain has categorized you as someone worth protecting, even when his ego is fighting that categorization. Evolutionary psychology explains this as mate guarding behavior, where men instinctively monitor and protect individuals they're emotionally invested in, regardless of official relationship status. What makes this particularly revealing is his response to your happiness. When you're genuinely happy, especially about things that don't involve him, it creates complex emotions he struggles to process. Relief that you're okay, jealousy if someone else caused your joy, pride in your success mixed with frustration at his own emotional investment. You might catch him trying to subtly identify what's making you happy or unhappy, not through direct questions, which would reveal his interest, but through careful observation and strategic listening. He becomes a detective of your emotional patterns because understanding what affects you helps him understand his own vulnerability to you. The most telling moments happen when you're in genuine distress. His carefully maintained distance might crack just enough to let genuine concern show through, a moment of unguarded care before he remembers to rebuild his walls. These slips reveal the emotional investment he's working so hard to hide. And here's the key indicator: your emotional well-being affects his mood in ways he can't fully control. When you're down, he's more tense. When you're thriving, he's more relaxed. He's emotionally synchronized with you, whether he admits it or not, which only happens when someone has become truly significant to our psychological landscape. The sixth sign appears in how he handles physical proximity and space around you, creating invisible boundaries that reveal his internal struggle with his attraction to you. When you're someone's weakness, they become hyper-aware of the physical space between you, managing it like a tactical operation. He might consistently maintain specific distances from you, never getting too close, but never moving so far that it seems obviously avoidant. This calculated spacing isn't coincidence, it's emotional self-regulation. He's close enough to feel connected, but far enough to maintain his psychological safety. Watch what happens when circumstances force closer proximity, in crowded spaces, elevators, or group settings where he can't control the distance. His body language shifts noticeably, increased tension, more controlled movements, heightened awareness. He's managing his physical response to your nearness, fighting biological reactions to someone who affects him deeply. Neuroscience shows that when we're attracted to someone we're trying to resist, proximity triggers competing neural pathways. The approach system wants to get closer. The avoidance system wants to create space. This internal conflict manifests as physical restlessness, fidgeting, or unusual stillness as he tries to control his body's natural responses. You might notice he never initiates casual physical contact like he does with others. No friendly hugs, playful touches, or casual contact that comes naturally with people who don't threaten his emotional equilibrium. Physical touch with you feels too dangerous, too revealing of the feelings he's fighting. But here's what's fascinating. His avoidance of touch reveals his desire for it. People don't carefully avoid physical contact with individuals who don't affect them. They're casually physical because it doesn't matter. His deliberate maintenance of physical boundaries proves those boundaries feel necessary for his emotional protection. The most revealing moments happen when accidental contact occurs, brushing hands when reaching for something, unexpected proximity when moving through spaces. His reaction to these moments, however brief, reveals the electrical charge you create for him. The slight tension, the quick withdrawal, the momentary pause before resuming normal behavior. Sometimes you'll catch him in unguarded moments where he allows himself to get closer, maybe when he's distracted, relaxed, or his defenses are down. These moments reveal his natural inclination toward you before his protective mechanisms kick in. The quick correction, the subsequent distance, the internal recalibration all point to someone fighting their own desires. Physical space management with you is never casual because nothing about you feels casual to him. Every distance is calculated, every proximity monitored, every accidental touch processed and filed away. This level of spatial awareness only exists around someone who has become emotionally significant enough to require careful management. The seventh sign reveals itself in his social behavior and how he positions himself within group dynamics when you're present. When you're someone's hidden weakness, they unconsciously restructure social situations around your presence, even while maintaining the appearance of indifference. In group settings, he develops subtle patterns of positioning that seem random but aren't. He might consistently choose seats